All right, welcome everyone. Today's video is a review and kind of a show and tell of this hold down strap kit for T-slots, whether it be a milling machine, a drill press, just anything that requires a T-slot hold down or just a better way to hold a part. Maybe it be a flat, piece of aluminum that you're going to mill out on a milling machine or whatever. But anyway, my kit happens to be 5/8. And if you'll see right here, this is the T-slot. I don't know what you call it, but it goes into the T-slot of your table or a vise, whatever would have a T-slot, and it's 5/8 across the narrowest part at the top right here. You can see that. And of course, it's threaded. They all have threaded holes, and then you have this. And this particular model that I purchased was just a cheap Chinese copy of probably a Bridgeport or a higher quality set, and I'll get into that. But for its intended purposes, I think I spent $45 for this, and that's all I wanted to spend. I put my money in other places. Like I just bought an XY table that'll probably come up in another review. I've had some guys ask me if I had any solutions to my cheap XY vise that I bought, my $40 XY vise, and I do have a solution. And I'll show that in another video. I will show that in another video. But first, let's get back into this. The way this works, you take a threaded bolt here. I guess it's not called a bolt, but you get the idea. It just screws into the T-slot clamp, I guess. And then what happens, you take a step block, whether it be something like this, and they have corrugations all down this. I'll try to get it in the right light where you can see this. There we go. All the way down the step block, there's these corrugations. And for instance, if your T-slot runs in this direction, let me get these back here. Okay, this is inserted under the T-slot and slid wherever you want it to slide. And then you have this. You have your step block. And we'll just use the biggest pieces because they're the easiest to see. And this is what this piece would look like. This has the corrugations right here that marry up with the corrugations in the step block. So this would go on here like this and put downward force on anything that you're trying to clamp. So what I would be trying to clamp would be right here on the nose of this. So when you're clamping something, you just want the back end kind of proud. You want the nose down just slightly when you clamp something. And you would take the corresponding nut and you would just spin it on and tighten it. But, and these are just hunks of steel. There's nothing special about it. What I want to show you, more than the function of this, the function is straightforward. Anybody can figure that out. That's easy. But what I want to show you is just because this is a Chinese copy, a real cheap, I can't remember, $48? I may put it in the description of what I paid. It's irrelevant. 40 some odd dollars. A good one may cost over 100. I don't know. But the milling and the tolerances on these blocks is almost non-existent. I knew what I was paying for, but I just wanted to, I thought, how hard would it be to run the corrugations down their production mill and make straight corrugations? Well, evidently they can't do it. If I can get this just right, you might see the differences in the way it is. These are supposed to be cut actually quite well. And that way when you put this all together, these corrugations marry up real nice with no error. And this is actually not bad. If I had to use this, this is fine. These marry up well. Not perfect, but well enough to clamp apart. What I do want to show you, let me put them flush, kind of get a better look. Yeah, that's not too bad. But what I do want to show you are the little ones. And for whatever the reason, the little ones are horribly made. Let's see if I can get these up in frame. Notice right there on the one on my right, see how the difference from the milling machine that they used or from one side to the other just didn't cut straight grooves. It's hard for me to show you what I'm seeing, but you kind of have to just take my word for it. Maybe I can give you a better example like this. When I put them together, Look at there. It looks like a zipper because they don't mesh up well. And the same for most of the blocks. Let's put this block on it. Or I mean the top of the clamp. There you go. You can see that. Not a good match. And actually, when I clamped my XY table down to my drill press table, I could see light through some of the connections. I mean, they're going to work. You know, for the money I paid, I'm not complaining really because I knew what I was buying. But don't spend $40 on this cheap crap if you think it's going to, you know, be stellar stuff, because it's by far not. So I guess I can show you the mid-size blocks. And almost every block, this is it's almost like they were set crooked. Like they were put in this way, and then they had the cutter head run across it in this direction, cutting deeper on one side than the other. And really, there's a good shot of how horribly made this stuff is. But I mean, you know, you kind of have to expect it, I guess. Let's look at the bottom here. Yeah, you can see right there how there's the faces of all the little steps are flat. When they're not, they're kind of sharp on this side as they're supposed to be. So really horribly made. Milling hold down clamp system from China. You know, I mean, they make good stuff. I just happen to not acquire anything of quality here. But I knew that, like I said, I knew that going in. So I mean, it is what it is, and it's going to function. I'm not saying this won't work. It will work, but if you're trying to mill out something very big, and it's going to create a lot of mill forces, you know, cutting forces on your table or on the part that you're milling, like you're taking a big chunk of aluminum or taking a big chunk of steel with a big cutter head. I mean, I probably wouldn't use it. And I've even been trying to think about how I could buy a cutting head and properly mill these pieces out to give them proper stair steps. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible. Probably not. But I mean, I don't have a milling machine. I just have a drill press and an XY table. I'm still searching for a vise. But the purpose of this was to get ready to mill out aluminum lowers, maybe 308 or AR10 or AR15 lowers. And I'm thinking about doing another polymer 80 lower. This will be fine for that. The tooling, you know, for the polymer is, I mean, it's not going to put enough force on anything to damage it at all. But they, you know, they come with all different sizes. I mean, I don't know, the sizes are listed on eBay. That's where I bought this. But I mean, it's pretty versatile. It'll do about anything you need. Of course, it comes with these. If you have something really long, you can put this coupler on it, and then put another one of these on it, and keep knocking. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that this is it was a bad purchase, because it wasn't. It was in my case, it was a good purchase. But you know, it's so bad. The tolerances are so bad on these small blocks. I don't know that I would really do any large piece of, you know, metal or aluminum or whatever with a cutter head, because if something were to jump and you were to take a too big of a bite with an end mill, you know, that can be extremely dangerous. So know what you're getting into when you buy this cheap stuff. I knew what I was getting into. I didn't know it would be as bad as it was, actually, but it's of the same quality as my cheap $40 XY vise that came from China. And I wouldn't have purchased this if I could have found a nice used set of Bridgeport's or USA made strap system. I wouldn't have purchased this at all. I would have given twice as much money and bought something used. But a lot of times you get into that good old American stuff that's used, it's wore out and parts are missing. I don't think I've ever seen a used set of these, you know, made in the 80s or whatever, that had every part. So that's why I went with the Chinese. And just in closing, this is junk, but for me it'll work for my intended purpose. So just make sure it'll work for you.